Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a battlefield, but the war isn't fought with swords or shields. It's waged inside your mind. The enemy isn't another man. It's not even her. The real war is against yourself, the illusions, the attachments, the desperate need for validation that you've been conditioned to chase. She's slipping away, isn't she? You can feel it in the way she texts less, the way her voice lacks the warmth it once had, the way her eyes don't search for yours like they used to. You tell yourself it's temporary, that if you just say the right words, show the right emotions, prove your worth one more time, she'll come back. But deep down, you know the truth. The more you chase, the further she runs. The more you try to fix what's breaking, the more it shatters. Here's the paradox no one warns you about. The moment you make her the center of your world, she starts looking for a way out of it. The moment you place your happiness in her hands, she begins to feel the weight of chains she never asked to carry. Why does this happen? Why is it that the more a man gives, the less he is valued? Why do the ones who seem emotionally detached command respect, while those who love the hardest suffer the most? You weren't born weak. You weren't born desperate for her attention. Society did this to you. Every movie, every love song, every cliché romance taught you that a woman's love is the ultimate prize, that once you find her, you must hold on for dear life. But the Stoics knew better. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Yet most men allow their thoughts to be dictated by the presence or absence of a woman. You are trapped in a cycle of suffering, not because she is leaving, but because you have lost control over the one thing that truly belongs to you, your mind. So now you stand at a crossroads. You can continue down the path of emotional chaos, of obsession, of self-destruction, or you can embrace a philosophy that has guided the strongest men in history, a mindset that turns heartbreak into indifference, rejection into power, and loss into wisdom. The choice is yours. But before you decide, understand this. The very act of needing her is the reason you are losing her. And unless you break free from this illusion, you will keep repeating the same painful pattern again and again. But what if I told you there is a way out? A way to reclaim your strength, your peace, your self-respect, not by fighting for her, but by letting go in a way that commands more power than any desperate attempt to hold on. It's time to dismantle the biggest psychological trap men fall into, the one that keeps them powerless in relationships, blind to their own worth, and trapped in a cycle of emotional suffering. The question is, are you ready to see the truth? You think she left because you weren't enough, that maybe if you had been stronger, funnier, more successful, more of something, she would have stayed. But this is an illusion, one of the deadliest traps a man can fall into. The truth, she didn't leave because you lacked something. She left because you gave too much of yourself, too much of your peace, too much of your identity. And in doing so, you unknowingly broke one of the most powerful laws of human nature. People do not value what is freely given. This is where most men destroy themselves. They believe love is about devotion, about proving themselves, about earning a woman's affection through sheer effort. But this mindset, this desperate need to be chosen, is not love. It is servitude. And no woman, no matter how much she once loved you, will respect a man who places her on a pedestal above himself. The Stoics understood something that modern men have forgotten. The more you attach your happiness to an external force, the more power you surrender over your own life. Epictetus warned against this when he said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." And yet, most men live in a state of quiet desperation, wanting her approval, wanting her love, wanting her presence, never realizing that this very desire is what makes them weak. Here's the brutal truth. A woman cannot respect a man who worships her. She might enjoy the attention, she might appreciate the affection, but deep in her core, she will resent you for needing her more than she needs you. Evolutionary psychology explains why. Throughout history, survival depended on strength, on leadership, on an unshakable presence that did not need but instead commanded. Women were drawn to the men who stood firm, not the ones who begged. They followed the men who had purpose, not the ones who built their world around them. But today's world has flipped this dynamic on its head. Men are told that to win a woman, they must cater to her every emotion, be endlessly available, and prioritize her above all else. Yet, time and time again, the men who follow this script are the ones left heartbroken, confused, asking, "What did I do wrong?" What you did wrong was simple. You gave away your power. You placed your emotional well-being in the hands of someone else, hoping she would treat it with the same care you would. But she won't. Not because she is cruel, not because she is selfish, but because this is human nature. We only cherish what we fear losing. We only respect what respects itself. So, if you truly want to break free from this cycle of suffering, you must stop trying to change her. Instead, you must change yourself. There is a reason why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You've been looking in the wrong place. You've been trying to control the uncontrollable, chasing someone who does not belong to you, when the real battle has always been inside your own mind. Now, the question is, how do you break free? How do you reclaim your power, your dignity, your sense of self? To do this, you must understand the unseen consequences of emotional weakness, the hidden damage that attachment causes to your very soul. Only then will you see why the only path forward is the path of radical detachment. And once you embrace this truth, everything changes. Are you ready for the next step? Every time you obsess over her, replaying conversations in your mind, analyzing her words, trying to decode her silence, you are feeding a disease that is slowly consuming you. You may not feel it yet, but it is there, weakening your resolve, corroding your self-worth, and turning you into a man who lives not by his own will, but by the unpredictable tides of her affection. And what happens when you allow your emotions to dictate your actions? You lose control. You become reactive instead of decisive. You become desperate instead of centered. And without realizing it, you slowly become invisible to the very woman you so desperately want to keep. You see, emotional attachment, when taken to excess, is not a sign of love. It is a sign of dependency. And dependency is the fastest way to kill attraction, to drain respect, to make yourself small in the eyes of someone you once held dear. Think about it. When a man stands firm, unshaken by circumstances, he commands attention. When a man clings, pleads, or waits for a woman's approval, he repels it. This isn't manipulation, this is nature. Why do you think the men who care the least often end up with the most attention? It's not because they play games, it's because they have something far more valuable than love. They have self-possession. Their energy does not orbit around a single woman. Their emotions are not chained to the fleeting affections of another. And because of this, they remain men of value. Now, let's go deeper. Why is it that men who pour their hearts out, who show endless devotion, who give everything, are the ones who suffer the most? It's because they mistake giving for earning. They believe that if they just show enough love, enough patience, enough sacrifice, she will see their worth. But that's not how attraction works. A woman does not fall in love with a man because he needs her. She falls in love because he is whole without her, because his presence alone commands respect, because he does not beg, nor does he wait, nor does he allow the tides of his emotions to be dictated by another. This is where the weak fail. They attach, they chase. They lose themselves in the illusion that a woman's love is something to be secured, when in reality, it is something that flows naturally towards those who do not need it. And here is the final consequence of attachment, the one no one warns you about. The more you attach, the more you suffer. The more you chase, the more you lose. The Stoics warned of this thousands of years ago. Epictetus said, "If you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it. Your suffering is not coming from her absence. It is coming from the meaning you have assigned to it. You believe that without her, you are incomplete, that without her love, you are somehow less. But this is the illusion, and the moment you see through it, the moment you truly understand, you will feel something you haven't felt in a long time: freedom. Now comes the rebellion, the shift, the transformation. It's time to unlearn everything you thought you knew about love, attraction, and power. It's time to embrace the Stoic mindset. Are you ready? Enough. Enough of the waiting. Enough of the hoping. Enough of the endless analysis, the desperate attempts to decode her words, the slow self-destruction in the name of love. You are not here to beg for scraps of affection. You are not here to build your identity around the fleeting presence of another. You are here to master yourself. And the first step, detachment. Not apathy, not some hollow, emotionless existence, but the kind of detachment that makes you untouchable. The kind that turns you into the man who does not need, but instead chooses. The kind that commands respect, not through force, but through an unshakable presence. The first lesson of the Stoic rebellion. Let go of control, reclaim your power. The weak try to control women. They overanalyze, they strategize, they obsess over what to text, what to say, how to act. They believe that if they just do everything right, she will stay. But the strong do not control, they accept. They understand that love, like the seasons, is beyond their command. They do not chase, they do not beg, they do not live in fear of loss because they have already embraced the truth. Everything is temporary. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You cannot control her feelings, you cannot control her choices, but you can control how you respond. And in that response lies all the power you will ever need. The second lesson, indifference is strength. Not the cold, bitter kind of indifference that masks pain, but the quiet, effortless kind that comes from knowing your worth. The kind that makes a woman look at you differently, not because you are playing games, but because she feels that you are not bound by her. A woman can sense when a man is emotionally dependent on her. She may not always understand it consciously, but she feels it. And the moment she senses that you need her more than she needs you, something shifts. Respect fades, attraction dies, and no matter how much she once cared, she will begin to pull away. Now, imagine the opposite. Imagine a man who is calm, centered, unaffected. A man who does not panic when she becomes distant, does not beg when she threatens to leave, does not shatter at the thought of being alone. This is the man she cannot ignore, because this is the man who does not need her, but who, if he chooses, allows her into his world. The third lesson, purpose above all. The biggest mistake a man can make is making a woman his purpose. The moment you do this, you forfeit your strength. You become reactive, shaped by her moods, her emotions, her presence. And in doing so, you become invisible to her. Look at history. The most powerful men, the ones who commanded attention, who left legacies, who shaped the world, were never men who obsessed over relationships. They were men with purpose, men who woke up with a mission greater than themselves. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. How much time have you wasted on her? How many days, weeks, months have you spent waiting for a message, agonizing over her silence, replaying memories instead of creating your future? Enough. The rebellion begins now. No more chasing, no more pleading, no more making her the center of your world. You are the center. You are the mission. And any woman who enters your life must align with your path, not the other way around. The moment you understand this, the moment you truly embrace it, you will unlock something that changes everything, because now, for the first time, you will see the ultimate truth. And once you see it, you can never go back. Are you ready for the final lesson? Here it is, the truth no one tells you. The truth that, once understood, makes past heartbreak seem almost laughable. You were never losing her. You were losing yourself. Every time you overanalyzed her words, every time you twisted yourself into knots trying to be what you thought she wanted, you were the one slipping away. Not because she didn't care, but because you abandoned your own identity for the illusion of keeping her. And that is why she left. Not because you weren't enough, not because another man came along, but because at some point, she stopped recognizing the man she was drawn to. He had been replaced by someone desperate, someone dependent, someone who no longer stood on solid ground. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who loses himself in the pursuit of another. So, what is the final lesson? What is the ultimate mastery of relationships? It is this: you do not own her, you do not control her, and you do not need her. Not because you are cold, not because you do not love, but because love, in its purest form, is not possession. It is freedom. The moment you try to hold someone, you create resistance. The moment you try to control them, you plant the seed of their escape. But when you let go, when you stand firm, unshaken, content in your own solitude, something strange happens. People return to what they cannot shake. They chase what is not easily captured. They are drawn, irresistibly, to those who do not seek validation from them. This is the paradox of power in relationships. You do not attract by trying, you attract by being. A woman will never look at you the same way if she feels that you are the prize. If she sees that your world does not revolve around her, but instead around something far greater, your mission, your purpose, your unbreakable core. That is Stoic mastery. It is not about game playing. It is not about manipulation. It is about becoming a man so complete within himself that loss does not shake him, rejection does not wound him, and love does not enslave him. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. So be one, not for her, not to get her back, not to make her regret leaving, but for you. Because in the end, she is not the answer. You are. Now, walk away. Not with bitterness, not with anger, but with the quiet confidence of a man who finally understands. If she comes back, let her. If she doesn't, it changes nothing. Because you are not waiting. You are not hoping. You are moving forward. And from this moment on, nothing will ever shake you again."